Hey everyone, it's Paul and Kyle, back with another episode of the Hip Hop Debate. Uh, I have breaking news. I didn't even tell you, Kyle. Um, I am not a record player connoisseur now.
Oh, you are?
So even though I got a cheap record player, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
cut that part out because that was terrible. I got a cheap, I got a cheap uh, record player from Walmart, but I got
Mhm.
the first record I got was Good Kid, Mad City,
Nice.
and then I had an Amazon gift card for my birthday, so I bought Astro World,
Nice.
and I am gonna eventually try to get a nice one, and when I get a home, have like in my game room, nice
Mhm.
record player because like the sound is like the speaker is not good on it at all,
Yeah.
but it's I just like you could I don't know the sound of it, sound of a record I think is good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Is it what kind of record player is it? Like, do you know like the brand or
Crossley,
Crossley? Okay. Yep. So is it like one of those like briefcase ones where you open it
yeah,
up? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
know
definitely.
it's a cheaper one. It was like less than $25, but I want to get like
Yeah.
a nice one.
Yeah. So I have a Victrola, which is
Okay.
like they're kind of on the cheaper side too. But this one looks like an actual like old school like record player, like the ones from like the 50s.
Yeah.
And it's pretty nice. But I'm the same with you. Like once I like save up some money and I become like more of like a collector of albums, I want to buy
Yeah.
like a real turntable. But yeah, it's a fun hobby. Like I started it off just like for like ha-has, like, oh, something to do. And now
Yeah.
like I'm always going to record stores and finding vinyls and just buying stuff. And some of the ones that you'll find are like really great are like the ones that are like $5,
Yeah.
which you might think like, oh, there's probably tons of scratches on it, but like a lot of the ones that I've bought $5 for like $5, like they're in pretty good shape. So don't be, my one piece of advice to you is don't be afraid to go and like buy some like $5 record, because it's
Yeah.
probably in pretty good shape. So that's awesome. Proud of you.
I told you I'm off tomorrow, so you gave me an idea. I'm gonna go to a record store and buy some, have a little money from my birthday. So
There
I'll,
you go.
yeah,
There you
nice.
go.
So yeah, that was just I wanted to start the show off breaking news that I am a record player fan now, and I'm going to be purchasing more records and asking for a record player in the future.
There you go.
All right, so now obviously we're going to talk about what is going on in hip hop lately and or this past week, and this was a big week, I would say, in hip hop more than recent. I feel like we've been talking about random album drops and
Mhm.
who, yeah, who's listening to them, but now we actually there's actually some stuff to talk about. So we'll start with I think the biggest topic or one of the biggest topics of the past week is Astro World Festival.
Mhm.
It's tragedy what happened there. It's terrible. Um, I think it could have been uh, better prepared. They could have been better prepared for it, but
Mhm.
it's just I feel like that's kids and festivals and all day probably dehydrated. People are pushing. It's
Mhm.
not it's a tragedy, but yeah, it's a crazy thing, and I feel like he's gonna go do like a Kanye after what he did with Taylor Swift, and then disappear for a little while and then reemerge because I feel like that has to weigh on you.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate that it happened in the midst of like him dropping two singles,
Yeah,
kind of like in like the same week, right? And like that was like I think when he dropped those two singles, everybody's thinking, all right, here we go, like here's gonna be another album, and
Utopia. Yeah,
and and now it's like I'm sure that he'll still release it, but I don't know, like it's just kind of unfortunate, like I said, that it kind of all happened in the same kind of like time period, and now it's like it could damage his release date a little bit, so
yeah.
but can you kind of explain, because I'm not really sure if I totally understand either, but like exactly, was it just like kids moshing and just like just getting like too dehydrated like you said, or was there like more to it, or
There was, I'm pretty sure it was a mix of like cardiac arrest and then like I don't know if people or I think maybe one or two or I don't know got trampled. I think because when
Mhm.
people fall, people I don't know how people don't notice and stop, but I
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, it was I think just like a because once I think they opened like a section his stage I think or something they allowed like the crowd to rush and they all like pushed they all were like sardines.
Mhm.
um so it just was too much, and people, there was like ambulance, like they had like ambulance carts going in, and people were struggling to even get out. People like like assholes were like jumping on top of it and like trying to like dance and
Yeah.
stuff. It's like people are, and he, people say like, you know, he could have did something. I just feel that possibly, but he also, I watched a good hour of it and he was stopped the show like 3 times, 4 times. And
Mhm.
like people saying like, how could he not hear people like a whole section, but there's like 50,000 people. You
Mhm.
need like half the crowd, or not half the crowd, but like a good portion of the crowd for him to really, you know, hear, besides the people screaming in the front.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's my take on it, but it's a tragedy, and I feel, you know, terrible for everyone involved.
Yeah, definitely, prayers out to their families and everything like that. And yeah, I kind of agree. Like, I'm so indifferent towards it, because like, at one thing, like when you're an artist and again, we've talked about Travis and how he has like that cult following, right? And that's just kind of the stuff that they do at his shows. Sometimes is they just kind of go crazy, and for a lot of people, for a while, like people thought that was just like funny, and like, oh, like, that's just kind of like his like style to his shows and stuff like that. And nobody really thought like, oh, this could actually get pretty serious if people get hurt or possibly, die, right? So now that that's happened, like, I just kind of wonder, like, could he have prevented it? Like, I don't know, maybe he could have done a little bit more. Like maybe he could have, like, after like maybe stopping the show like 3 times, like eventually saying like, hey, like, we need to get some people down there to like help out, and like, like tell these people to like,
Yeah.
separate and push back. So he could have done more, but at the same time too, it's like, that's why, like, he's just the performer. He's just the performer who's on the stage. And he attracts this kind of crowd. It's not like, he like gathered all these people and just started like encouraging them to like always do that stuff all the time. So in a way, like, I kind of feel like, maybe he could have done more, but at the same time, it's like he's the performer, and that's why you have people kind of in the crowd. Like, you have security and you have all those people that should be doing their job. And I'm not saying that they didn't, but like,
Yeah.
that's why you have those people there. And to put it all on him, I think is a little bit much. But I do think that, when you are an artist that kind of almost like encourages that kind of, thing from your fans, like that, those are the things that could happen. Those are the consequences and side effects of that could happen. So I wonder if that's going to change, like, kind of how he kind of views his fan base and kind of how he presents his shows. I'm wondering, and you've seen him live, so I don't know, what
Yeah.
do you think about that? Do you think maybe he'll change kind of like some of his performance dynamics a little bit, or?
So yeah, I think his shows are gonna definitely change from now on. And I think for a while he's not going to be allowed at venues. It's
Yeah.
gonna be, he's gonna have to like kind of not work his way up, because he's not gonna be doing like little things, but he's gonna have to work his way up to getting on like a festival lineup and being like maybe not the headliner anymore.
Right.
Maybe like earlier in the evening, you know, like a 6 or 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna have to work his way up to where he was the hip hop headliner for years recently. Like
Hmm.
obviously there's Drake, but Drake doesn't really, he pops out at festivals or concerts and he does his own thing. He has
Right.
his own tour or his own festival.
Hmm.
You know, Kanye doesn't, he's sporadic. Jay-Z hasn't really done anything in a while.
Hmm.
Uh Kendrick hasn't done anything in a while. J. Cole just does normal like arena tours.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, he's been the headliner for a
Hmm.
while, and it's like that's gonna be gone for a while. So
Yeah.
I don't, and then so he's just gonna have to change it for people to accept it again, him
Yeah.
again as a performer.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say too, like, and to your point kind of, is like, it's kind of a shame that has to happen, because I feel like, again, what a lot of people like about him is just like the energy that he brings to his performances,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes, I mean, clearly, obviously, sometimes it can go a little over the top, especially if you're a fan who's trying to match that energy that he brings,
Yeah.
so it's unfortunate, because he was almost kind of like a breath of fresh air when it comes to like his performance, and kind of, how he just kind of, um, you know basically carries himself when he's doing a show. And that's what a lot of people like about him a lot. And it's just kind of
Yeah.
unfortunate that that's, unfortunately probably going to have to take a back seat a little bit. um, so it's unfortunate. The whole thing is just unfortunate, and I feel bad for the families. I feel bad, obviously, for the people that lost their lives, and I feel bad for him too, because
I do
he
too.
has to take some of that heat, and he's got to change up kind of the things that he's been doing for so long that have made him so popular. And now
Yeah.
he's got to think about how he's going to change his career. So it's
Essentially, yeah.
unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we can talk about this for hours, but
Yeah,
he essentially has to kind of change his career, which is it's obviously it's a tragedy, and I completely understand that. But
yeah.
kind of the points you were making, and I won't reiterate, but it's crazy how he has to change his career off of this, which
Hmm.
is it's such a big event, but it's like crazy how like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, so yeah, so we'll briefly talk about his two new songs, Mafia and Escape Plan. I to me they're all right. I feel like one's gonna be on the album, one's gonna be a throwaway.
Mhm.
I feel like it's gonna be I feel like Escape Plan is gonna be on Utopia, just because it seems like more of a like butterfly effect where it was released a while before, but he's gonna keep it on the album. And
Yeah.
Mafia was just like a throwaway, but they're all right, nothing crazy. What do you
Yeah.
think?
I mean, nothing to like the same level as like a I don't know, like
Butterfly,
yeah, or even like a
um,
sicko mode,
yeah,
like I was kind of looking more for like something like that. At least from one of them. Like I know Travis is very good with like his melodies, and he likes to make, a lot of songs that are kind of like, we've talked about before, like psychedelic and trippy and kind of stuff like that. And I definitely got that vibe. But I was looking for more like one, at least one of them to be kind of like a hype up, kind of like get me pumped, excited kind of feeling. But I don't know, like for me, like it feels just like run of the mill Travis Scott, which
yeah,
if you're a big Travis Scott fan, like that's good. And that's probably what you've been wanting. But like for me, I don't know. Like I was kind of looking for something a little bit more. Like I'm kind of looking for him to more push the boundaries a little bit.
yeah,
He's always had like his own unique style, and he's always kind of like, been able to kind of keep people entertained with like the way that he delivers his music. But at some point, like he's got to do more. He's got to push it a little bit more.
yeah,
And I feel like you don't get that with these two songs, and that's kind of why I feel like I agree with you. They're kind of just like okay, and just kind of like a little bit of a letdown for me.
yeah. I agree. It's just I've listened to them. I'll play them if they're on a playlist, like a hip hop playlist on Apple Music. But besides that, it's I'm not really going keep
Yeah.
listening it over and over.
Right. Yeah.
Um, the next one or the last of our intro topics, The Weekend and Post Malone, they dropped a song. Did you happen to listen to it?
I did. I did. I definitely. I thought it was all right. I thought that there was some, Post Malone, you know, has some pretty silly lines in there. But I definitely liked the beat a lot. I thought that the beat was really good, and that beat definitely, you can tell that that's a Weekend song because that's like classic Weekend production right there.
Yeah,
So and it's definitely. I feel like to me, that song is more of like a vibe than like a song that I can just like sit down and like dissect like the lyrics and all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
For me, it's just like a song that like if I'm feeling in the mood to like kind of like do some moving around, some dancing, like I'll put it on. But yeah, so I thought it was okay. I thought it was just all right, and I liked the beat a lot. But Post Malone's rapping was a little weird for me. What about you?
yeah. I same. Like honestly, I think they're both good artists. I think The Weeknd's on like a different level though. He's like in that to me, he's getting in that Michael Jackson Prince
Yeah,
level, but in terms of just how big he is. But Post Malone, I think I'm a fan of his, and I just don't think, at least for this song, they worked well together. They just didn't. I just don't like them together on this song. Maybe another
yeah.
song in the future, but I don't think I personally am just not a fan of it really.
Yeah, I totally agree. I felt like I thought it was I was interested to see them on a song together, and then when I
Yep.
heard it, I was like, they don't really fit well together.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, like like I said, I like Post Malone too. Like I think he's pretty good. When he's doing really great stuff, like he's really good.
Yeah.
Um, and like again, the beat kind of made me feel like, oh, this is a little bit of a like the Weekend's kind of pushing it a little bit, like kind of like what I was expecting from Travis Scott. Like he's kind of pushing his production a little bit, and
Yeah.
his range was pretty good on the song too. But yeah, I totally agree. I don't think Post and him fit together, at least on this song. Maybe they could try
Yeah.
some other songs together, but this one, like I don't know, I just don't feel like they fit too well.
I feel like because Post Malone can like hold a good melody or sing even a little. And I think if they did like a slower song or something, I think they could actually like make it work in a way. Which The Weeknd's very, he's such a big artist where he's doing a lot of these like dance or just big records where like he has a song with the Swedish House Mafia. They've reunited and or did a song with him. He did a song with Juice World. He did a song with another. He's done is it Calvin Harris, or he's done just songs with big artists. He had
Mhm.
Daft Punk twice on his album.
Right.
Like he's at that level. So I think they could do like a slower song and do a little different, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
And I also just feel like their styles are different too, which is what
Yeah.
also kind of threw me off because, like, The Weeknd, I mean, they both can sing and they both can, kind of do their thing. But, The Weeknd has kind of transitioned into more like a, pop, kind of like, he uses a lot of like influences of like disco and stuff like that. Whereas
Yeah.
as Post he kind of sticks more to like the hip hop sounding, where it's like a boom
Or
bap
like even
beat.
a little country he'll throw
Yeah,
in like a
right.
lighter. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And he'll have some like guitar melodies in there. Whereas like, The Weeknd is trying to go for more of like that, again, that pop or that dance kind of, style. And also The Weeknd, I feel like, is a lot more like darker and more
Yeah.
kind of like,
Subject matter.
yeah, and like a little bit more like serious. Whereas Post Malone, like, he can be dark, but he's not like creepy dark like The Weeknd is. And and he can make some tracks where it's like, oh, that was kind of funny, or oh, that's kind of that's kind of like a
Yeah.
good line right there. Whereas The Weeknd, for the most part, like, he's pretty serious. So
Yeah.
I feel like with their styles, they just they didn't fit, and it kind of showed it on the song.
Definitely. I have to agree. So we had one more topic, but we're going to save it for after the debates because it's the other big topic or another big topic this week, the biggest. So we're going to jump into discussion. So since it's I came up with this one, I'll let you go first, and then we only have two topics. So I'll go first for yours. So the question is, uh, what is the best lineage in hip hop? And when we say lineage, we don't mean like actually family, like Run's house. We mean uh like an artist who discovered or signed another artist or heavily influenced another artist. So I'll let Kyle go first on this. Let him take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's two obvious answers, and I feel like your answer is, I kind of know what you're going to say, so I'm going to kind of go with the other direction. I personally think, in terms of like just like variety and just kind of like versatility, I'm going to say that the biggest lineage in hip hop probably was kind of the whole Cash Money lineage, particularly with Birdman. Starting off with Birdman and kind of going on to sign Lil Wayne, kind of discovering him, and kind of putting him on. Lil Wayne, probably, one of the pivotal rappers in like Southern rap. Kind of being a very big influence on the Southern rap style, and kind of like trap music, but also making rap music really popular. Like, a lot of people, again, we've talked about Lil Wayne before on other episodes. He was kind of one of the very few rappers where he was able to kind of take rap and just kind of make it appealing to everybody. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
who you are or whatever. He was the one that had those songs that everybody loved. So I think about Birdman, and his kind of like contribution to Lil Wayne's career. And then, of course, Lil Wayne goes on to sign people like Nicki Minaj and Tyga, who, Nicki Minaj, we've talked about in other episodes before. She's a very pivotal role in female and hip hop. Tyga, you could say what you want about him. Me personally, I think that his career hasn't panned out nearly as well as I had hoped. I definitely liked him a lot in the beginning when he was first getting started, but then after that, like, he kind of tanked a little bit. And you've said too before, like, you can say what you want about him, but he's got hits, he's got songs that people like, and so he's popular. But then, how can you not say Drake? Probably one of the biggest, most popular, most successful artists in all of the hip hop genre. So I think of Birdman kind of paving the way for a Lil Wayne to kind of sign those three stars, and then even to go a little bit further with it, you still have Drake. So now Drake is kind of managing his own label with OVO Sound, and he doesn't nearly have the artists that, like, even like a Lil Wayne, like, Lil Wayne had Drake, Nicki Minaj, Tyga, a few other people too.
Chanel West
Um,
Coast.
Absolutely, Chanel West Coast, can't forget about her. But Drake, I still feel like he has some good artists. Particularly for me, I like Majid Jordan a lot. I think that they're a very underrated kind of like R&B duo that comes out of Toronto. And then also Party Next Door. I think Party Next Door
Yeah.
is also pretty underrated as well. I'm not gonna say that he's like the greatest thing ever, but I like his style, and I like kind of like the way that he kind of brings a different kind of style to the hip hop genre. So and you also, you think about, Drake kind of started off the whole Toronto based thing, so he signed those two artists. You also talk about OVO sound, and he put a lot of producers that are very well known in the hip hop community today. And of course, I'm talking about 40. There's Boy Wonder, who does a lot of production for a lot of different artists, and even T minus has done a lot of good stuff for them as well. So giving those kind of producers jobs was a really big thing for Drake too. And then last but not least, even though they're not really signed to OVO, and they never were signed to like a Drake or a Lil Wayne, but to me, like The Weeknd was this close to getting to OVO. And imagine if that had happened, imagine like the lineage for that, because Drake and The Weeknd, they were so close and so good together. And then it just kind of went separate ways. So I kind of considered The Weeknd to almost kind of be like a part of that lineage. I mean, I know he's not, but he's got a big influence from Drake, and I kind of put that there. And then also, I'm just, again, not totally signed to OVO, never been signed to Drake's label or anything like that, but Tory Lanez, I kind of throw into that kind of consideration as well, just because, again, he's another Toronto-based rapper, probably the second biggest one from Toronto, especially in our generation, and definitely heavily influenced by Drake. I know he had a beef with him for a while, but Tory Lanez has always said Drake is like, when you think about rap from Canada or Toronto, like Drake is the god. He's the god,
Yeah.
and he put us all on the map. And so I just kind of look at that as like, a chain reaction. So starting with Birdman and going all the way down to like a Drake who signed all these Toronto-based rappers and producers and singers and songwriters. So I just think of that lineage, and I just think that the reason why I picked it as the best is just because it's very versatile. Like, you can pick lineages that have just a lot of great rappers who signed each other and just kept going. But for me, like, if you think about this, like, you have Birdman, who, I mean, he rapped, but he's not really known for like being a rapper, and he
Yeah.
signs Lil Wayne and Drake, Nicki Minaj, but then Drake kind of takes it a little bit further and signs producers. He signs, R&B artists. He influences a lot of R&B artists. So I think just the versatility for me makes it the best hip hop lineage in the era.
All right. So I okay, that's good. A little stretch with Tory Lanez in The Weeknd, but that's
Yeah.
fine. So I honestly think there's a lot more than two that you can really go with. I think, I'm not going to say mine, but I think like someone like Dr. Dre, Eminem, 50 Cent. That's a good one. Man, I was thinking of a few others, but I feel like there's others that, even like Gucci Mane, Young Thug and Lil Baby, or like Gucci Mane and anyone else in Atlanta. I feel like he's discovered everyone.
Yeah.
And then, if they've signed someone. So I feel like there's a couple that you can go with depending on, which direction you want to take it. But that's obviously, I feel like the two most known ones is what yours is. And before I say mine, I would like to hear what you think mine is.
So I was thinking that you're going to go in the direction of like a Jay-Z who signs Kanye, who signs like Big Sean, but then you also have Jay-Z who signed J. Cole. So I'm thinking somewhere in that kind of realm is what you went with.
All right. So my lineage, you could say, is Jay-Z, Kanye West, but I also am going to add something since you kind of did something else, and then Travis Scott, and then I'm also going to add Don Toliver in there because he's going to be big. So Jay-Z, I'm just going to go. I don't think there's a better lineage, obviously, and the three are very different artists, but all exceptional in their own lanes. Jay-Z for a long time was the biggest thing in hip hop. He was the superstar in hip hop. He was the top guy for even longer than most people that they're at the top. Like, Drake is the guy now, obviously, but Jay-Z for a long time was the guy. And I think he's also just, obviously his music speaks for itself, but also then you have Kanye, who's to me the GOAT. And also he's just on, I feel like he's on his own level to me. He's just the guy in hip hop. So he's obviously good. That Jay-Z and then Kanye, you're like, that's crazy enough. Then you get Travis Scott, I feel like Travis Scott, I obviously like his music a lot, but to most people, like Jay-Z and Kanye are on a different level, you could say. To most people, they would say that. To me, I think he is on that level, but he's not just the crazy thing about him is he's like a newer age rapper where he's not just the musician, he's the brand now. Like guys had rappers had deals for a while with like certain companies, and but Travis Scott, like I've listened to some of them, like Fortnite. He's in Fortnite. He's in a video game. Like not even just has his video game. He's in a video game.
Yeah.
McDonald's. He had his own meal.
Hmm.
Nike. His shoes are him and Yeezys are the two hottest like streetwear sneakers.
Hmm.
Um, Bape. He had a thing. Helmet Lang. Reese's. I have a box of his Reese's Puffs in my pantry. New Era because he does stuff with the Astros and like he does like limited hats and stuff. Hot Wheels, which I didn't know that he'd had something with Hot Wheels. I saw that. Um, Nerf, he has a Nerf gun, and he also has a partnership with the Rockets. But that's also like I feel like a lot of athletes have things with sports now. Like Drake's the ambassador for the Raptors, or like certain. I think Big Sean is for like the Pistons, and like certain artists like in certain areas are like their ambassador. So that's
Yeah.
like nothing too crazy, but like they're all major like artists at like, and they're all going to go down as like legends, which is kind of crazy. But also, you kind of threw in, you said Drake and Nicki Minaj. You kind of have to also throw Jay-Z and then Kanye and Rihanna, because
Hmm.
Rihanna's in there too. He
Yeah.
signed her to Rockefeller
Yep.
or Def Jam. So
Hmm.
I feel like Rihanna's on another level too. I remember I'm pretty sure it's still true to this day. She has more number one songs than Beyonce, Taylor Swift, and another. It was like trivia question. I was like, I actually got it right. I picked Rihanna, but it's another story. But yeah, so she's on a different level, and just the success of all these people, because also Jay-Z's a billionaire, Kanye's a billionaire, Rihanna's a billionaire,
Hmm.
uh, Travis Scott. I think he was on his way. I don't know if he's going to get there now, but his baby mother's a billionaire. Um, so like these are just massively successful people, and they've all successful in their musically in different ways, but also uh, personally and like their own ventures too. Like Jay-Z with the restoring, trying to build Black wealth, and kind of just Rock Nation trying to have a big collective, and then all that stuff he's done previously, and then obviously Kanye, is Kanye, and
Yeah.
then Travis Scott, like I said, with the brands and just how big of he's a brand, not just an
Hmm.
artist. And then Don Toliver, I think he's going to be he's an emerging musician. So I think
Yeah.
he's another good artist to add to that. And then Rihanna. So I just think that lineage is like on a different level than everyone.
Yeah, it's definitely it's hard to debate that, especially again, like you said, like a lot of those names are household names, like everybody knows who they are, and like everybody knows kind of like the success and all the things that they do, and you can probably name at least I don't know 5 songs from each artist, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Where for me, like you probably couldn't say the same thing about like a Majid Jordan, or if you're not like too big into Party Next Door, you probably couldn't do that either. Um, but yeah, it's hard to debate that, especially with all the success that particularly just Jay-Z and Kanye themselves have had. Like
Yeah.
even forget about some of the other people like Travis Scott, who's still kind of like on his way up, hopefully, like what
Still
we
like,
said,
yeah.
and
Well, now it's gonna.
yeah, and like, and you talk about Don Toliver too, like who is a very new artist, so like he's on the rise too. And Rihanna, obviously, like you can't forget about her, and even again, like I kind of had mentioned before, like J. Cole, like can't forget that Jay-Z
Him
also
too.
founded him. And so, but just Jay-Z and Kanye alone is hard to debate, because that is probably, I don't know, if you were to ask me the question, like, what is the best, like, 1-2 punch in all of hip hop? I think to me, it's unquestionably Jay-Z and Kanye. Like, there's
It's the
never been a
throne,
better
man.
duo. Exactly. There's never been a better duo. I mean, unless you can say like Outcast or something like that, but there's never been a better duo in terms of like one person finding another person, and then those two kind of like, just taking off.
Yeah.
Like you really can't make a better argument for those two. And like for me, like I just said, like for mine, like it's more like a variety. Like again, like
Yeah.
a lot of what you said, like it was Jay-Z who found Kanye, who for the while was a producer, but then he mainly
Yeah.
became a rapper, right? And then you have, you know, J. Cole, who's a rapper, and then they found, you know, Travis Scott, who's a rapper, and Don Toliver, who is like a rapper, singer kind of
Yeah.
person, you know. But like, you know, for mine, it's like more like, you know, they started off as rappers, but each rapper in my lineage kind of got a little bit more versatile with like their singing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To the point where Drake is now just like signing, like he doesn't even sign any other rappers. He wants to be the only rapper on his thing, except for like a few people.
Yeah.
But like the main artists that he has are like mostly like R&B singers. So it all depends. It all depends on kind of what you're looking for. It's hard to debate against you. But you know, I also just like, I like the versatility sometimes,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. You forgot I love McConan as well.
I thought about mentioning him and I was just
Oh
like,
man.
nope, never mind.
um Also, you could even throw in a Kid Cudi with Kanye.
Right. True. You could throw a lot of people with Kid Cudi. I mean, Kid Cudi, Big Sean, you know, I know Pusha T, you know,
Yeah.
he had his, you know, obviously with the clips and everything like that, but he almost had like a resurgence, you know, because of Kanye. Like you
Yeah.
didn't hear about Pusha T for a while until he was on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And then all of a sudden he's dropping solo albums and he's on features and doing all this other stuff. So Kanye did a lot. Kanye did a lot for a lot of people. And, you know, again, who knows? Would those people have careers if it wasn't for Jay-Z who signed Kanye? You know, it's the whole
It's
chain reaction. You never
yeah,
know,
it's crazy.
you know?
Definitely. So yeah, that I feel like there are other ones, but mine and yours are just clearly the top two.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So now Kyle's topic is the top five hip hop playlists. So when he asked me, he wrote the question in our chat, our notes. Um, I was like, man, I don't know what to do. So I created my top five playlist, and then I also created top five songs that I just can listen to whenever. So I'm going to start from five to one to build the suspense because I know our listeners just it's going to leave them on the edge of their seat. So top five, number five, I picked "Runaway" by Kanye West. Um, I just love that song, especially the album version. I love the album version. I love that
Mhm.
heavy. I'm a sucker for autotune, and I love heavy autotune. That's why I'm such big fans of Kanye and Travis Scott because some of their songs with these heavy autotune, it's music to my ears, literally. Number four, Mamacita, Travis Scott, Young Thug, and Rich Homie Quan. That song to this day is still my favorite Travis Scott live song. So that's why
Mhm.
I'm such a big fan of that song. And even the listening to it like in the car, just like obviously, or headphones, like running or working out, like that song to this day still gets me pumped up like almost no other, or it probably like no other. I love that song so much. Number three, The Black of the Berry, Kendrick Lamar. That song, I remember the first time I listened to it, and I still every time I listen to it, without a doubt, I get goosebumps.
Mhm.
With that last, verse,
Mhm.
especially the end, that shit is just strong. And I
Yep.
think the whole song is too, which is wild because it's so the last half of that verse is so polarizing,
Mhm.
but the whole song he's saying he's going in, which is crazy.
Yep.
Number two, Blood on the Leaves by Kanye. That is just, I think, such a good song from beginning to end, and just the different, uh, the heavy horns and the heavy bass, and just what he's saying is just like a rich person's like tragedy,
Mhm.
essentially. And
Yeah.
I think that's such a hard song in many ways. And the number one, you're going to be very surprised at my top song. It's Travis Scott. It's Pick Up the Phone.
Wow.
That's my favorite song. And it is just that beat gets me every time. This light, it's like an island like beat, and it's like the I don't know, I can't even explain it, but that song is so good. And I think I am a big fan of Quavo, Young Thug, and Travis Scott together. I think
Mhm.
they work very well together.
Mhm.
And that's my favorite song, and I also love it live as well because he adds some melodies to it, and it's great. So that's my top five. If I had a playlist, that's my top five.
Wow. All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Um, okay, cool. So my top five, this was tough. I think we have one in common, so I'm just going to get that one out of the way right now. I didn't put these in any particular order just because they're all just too great to me. And any one of them I could, I can make the argument for like what I think would be like the best rap song like of all time. So so the one that we both agreed on for me, The Blacker the Berry, I definitely agree. I think that that's probably in the span between like 2010 till now, I think that's the best rap song that I've ever heard. Just in that time frame. Like, I just think that that is so good, and it just fits the whole theme of the album. Which again, when you hear like a single from Kendrick, like you never know like exactly where it's supposed to be until you hear the whole album. But that was one Kendrick Lamar singles where like even when I heard it just as a single, like I thought it was awesome because it was so good. And you're absolutely right. Like the last verse where, he says, why would I weep when Trayvon Martin's in the streets, when gang banging made me kill a person blacker than me? Like that line is just so like, it makes you think. And like, that's what he does. You know what I mean? And that's just like probably the prime example of like how Kendrick Lamar just uses his music to like make you think about different shit, and there's obviously the whole song just goes in, and it's really crazy, but yeah, that's definitely to me like, when I think about all the years from like when I was in college up until like now, like to me that's probably the best rap song I've heard in that time frame. So I definitely threw that one on there. The other four that I have, I love Juicy by Biggie. That's one of those songs where like it comes on and I feel like I impress people sometimes with how much I can remember the lines to that song. Like, I remember one New Year's, it was me, Bree, and my parents, and we were at a restaurant waiting for the ball drop or whatever, and that song came on, and I just started going off and just doing the whole song. And my dad was like, "Oh, well, pretty impressive." And I was like, "Yep, like I know every single line, I know every word, like it's great." So, and it's just one of those ones where, again, like it's kind of a different song for Biggie. Like, it wasn't like, if you ever seen like the movie Notorious, like when they're making that song, like he's listening to this beat and he's like, this isn't me. Like, how am I going to make a rap song out of this? Like, I'm going
Yeah.
to need a lot more weed to figure this out. But it ends up being like one of his best and biggest songs. So, so it's just one that I love a lot. Another one that I said, which would probably, I think these would be kind of like the top three. Blacker the Berry and Juicy, you can kind of interchange in my ranking. But for I would say number three for me is Stan by Eminem.
Yeah.
Just a really great track, and the subject matter is one that like I've never heard before from any artist. It doesn't matter if you're a rap artist, a rock artist, whatever. Just the idea of him basically playing the role of a fan of his that is like so obsessed with him to the point where it just becomes like this like mental breakdown. And it just makes you wonder, like, because like I'm not a celebrity, so like are there really people like that who like are so like devoted to this celebrity that they've never actually met, but they're so devoted to them that it's almost like they're in like a relationship with this person? Like it gets so weird and so crazy, but the storyline behind it is unreal. And then of course the last verse with him just like being himself, writing back to the fan and like, oh,
Yeah.
some guy drove his car over a bridge, oh wait, it was you. And then that's how the song ends. Like I think that's just such a clever way to end it. So that whole song for me is just crazy. I still put it on sometimes, all the time. And then my last two songs, I would say number two for me is Cream, Wu-Tang Clan. To me, that's just one song to me that just like, it always, whenever I think hip hop, it just sticks into my brain. I love Raekwon's verse, but I think the verse that steals it is actually Inspector Deck's verse. I think that verse is probably the better of the two, to me personally. I mean, both are great. Don't get me wrong. And even Method Man's chorus, like, cash rules everything around me, cream. Like that is probably the best acronym in hip hop ever.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
like, and watching the show and kind of seeing how it kind of unfolded, especially with Method Man's chorus, that made me just appreciate the song even more. So I just love that song a lot. And then my number one, I think that this is probably my favorite hip hop song of all time. And it was actually pretty closer than I thought, but I wanted to pick this one just because my other one that I was kind of going with was also a song by the same artist. And I was like, I can only have one song from one artist. So I'm going to go with this one. And for me, it's New York State of Mind by Nas. Like, probably the one song to me that just like screams hip hop. Like, everything that you can possibly imagine about hip hop being in one track, to me it's New York State of Mind. And just some of his lines, like, to me, like the line about being able to teach people about blunts and beepers and stuff like that, like, I think is great. Talking about how his gun got stuck in the chamber and now he's running to the building lobby, and it was probably full of children he couldn't see because he was so high. Just like all these like different lyrics that he throws into this one song, to me it just screams hip hop. It's like the epitome of what hip hop is. So those are my top five, for sure. But New York State of Mind for me is number one. I think it's probably the best hip hop song of all time.
Yeah, I can't argue about hip hop state of mind. It's just you think hip hop, you think especially New York hip hop,
Right.
like that's it.
Yep.
So yeah, I think your list was really good. You have so I have some honorable mentions, as I said before, I started. So songs that like I can put on whenever. I have, Way Back, Travis Scott. I just love the beat change on that. Um, Also Juicy, it's on there as well. When you said that, I was like, damn, like Juicy is that like New York, that's like New York State of Mind is that like straight New York hip hop, and then Juicy's that like New York like banger, but like not like a banger in a sense of like everyone loves Juicy. Like no
Right.
one, how
Yeah.
can, and people know, you know,
Mhm.
know the words to Juicy. Everyone, I feel like it's such a popular song. And then
Yeah.
to me, another one that is very that is the same, but the West Coast version is California Love.
Mm.
I feel like California Love, like dun, 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 dun,
Nah,
dun,
nah, nah.
like that
Yeah.
shit's every time, like Tupac and Dr. Dre, and then the other guy, what's his name, Roger Troutman on there is
Mhm.
all like that song is just so good. Like, and that's
Yeah.
to me, like Juicy's like the East Coast version, like they're the coastal versions of each other,
Mhm.
and that's what Juicy is, and that's what California Love is. And then also, like I said, Way Back. Those are just some honorable mentions for me, but
Yeah.
yeah, I have to agree with Juicy on that.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll have to put our five songs together and make one like 10 song playlist and put it somewhere so people can listen to it, because
Yeah,
that's a good list. I like it.
yeah, that is. All right, so now we'll get into the final topic, and it's going to be more of a discussion type. Is the artist formerly known as Kanye West, Ye, uh, went on the YouTube show Drink Champs with Nori, and I'm blanking on the other guy's name. And he's Kanye West, so there's no, you could say this interview is about 50 different things. I'll let you start on that. What did what do you want to start with?
Man, yeah, there's I mean, we'll just peel this back a little slow because there's a lot to dissect into here. I mean, he said a lot of things. I mean, obviously the thing was like almost 3 hours long, so we don't have that kind of time to talk about everything. But for me, some of the takeaways. I'll start with one takeaway, then I'll kind of let you kind of chime in with it. But my first takeaway was that he still thinks that he's married to Kim Kardashian, and man, like, I mean, first of all, in terms of all this stuff, not just that one topic in general, but this man is so delusional. Like, I don't know what world he's living in, but man, he is not here on earth right now. Like, I don't know what world he's living in, but I don't know, like, for me, like, and towards like the end of like the conversation about Kim, like, I kind of understood that, I kind of actually agree with him in terms of the fact that a lot of the media is kind of like making it out to be maybe a little bit more than what it is. But you hear like what the media is saying, and like it's clear that the media wants their relationship to fail, like, because
A
it's
narrative.
right, it's a narrative, and it's what's going to sell their, kind of like their prints and like all like their stories and stuff like that. So like, of course they want it to fail, because that would just be such a huge topic in pop culture, right? So I kind of agree with him on that. But you know Kim is her own person too. And every time that people ask Kim about it, she kind of has a different story than what he has. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So like on the interview, he was saying like, oh, like, she hasn't even sent me the papers yet, and and my kids want it to work out. It's like, well, yeah, who doesn't? Like, what kid
What
doesn't want their
kids?
parents
Yeah.
to be together? And clearly you obviously do too, but you're not the one that asked for the divorce. She is. So
Yeah.
so I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever really know like what is going on there, but I just get the idea that Kim doesn't want to be with you, and you're too delusional to accept the fact that she doesn't want to be with you. Like, she literally came on SNL and said that we are not together. And
Yeah.
so like, I don't know, like for me, like in terms of that, like still thinking that he's in a relationship or like in a marriage with her or whatever, like to me, it seems a little bit delusional just because that's not what she's saying. So I
Yeah.
don't know how you feel about that part of it, but to me, like it seems so ridiculous that he still thinks that he's in a marriage with this person who doesn't want to be in a marriage with him.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think, well, that's his side, but he also like, yeah, she's the one that asked for it.
Right.
It's you. I know you like you're trying to like say all this stuff on there and say the kids, no kids want their parents to split up
Right.
unless it's like a very toxic situation,
Right.
and no kids want that. So,
Right.
but yeah, so one thing that I like took away from it was not like took away, but like a tidbit that stood out to me was that the he said he kind of felt threatened with sicko mode, like Drake, like saying like he's creepy up and he's watching him,
Mm.
and like it wasn't even that, which I understand how you could feel a certain way about that, but it's the fact that like him and Travis Scott are actual like family, and like he said at like the birthday parties and shit, like it's say like Storm, like one of their kids' birthdays, that was the biggest song at the time. They're gonna play it. These kids, it's like, oh, that's dad or that's Uncle Travis or whatever. So they're gonna play it,
Yeah.
and Kanye's there like, there's a song, all these kids are screaming, and this man that I have a feud with is threatening my life. Like, I would be so mad if I was in like you're at family functions and the song's playing, and Drake's like talking about like watching him and like
Yeah.
looking out for him.
Yep.
Like, I would
Yeah.
be so mad.
I know, and you can't blame him, right? But at the same time, it's like, again, like, you're so delusional to the point that you said, like, right, that's the biggest song at the time. And like, it's like even like you said, kids listen to that song. Like, kids like that song. Like kids younger than us, like kids in elementary school,
Yeah.
middle school, like they like that song. So like at that time, like when you go anywhere, it doesn't matter where you're going or who you're going with, like people want to hear that song. And it's unfortunate for you because you got dissed on it. So it's like, like what can you say? Like, I understand that you're mad, but at the same time, it's like you have to understand that there's other people in this world other than you, and like
Yeah.
they're gonna want to hear that song. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I just thought that was like, it's like, damn, that would suck.
It does. I mean, I agree. I totally would be mad too. But at the same time, like, what can you do? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Another thing that I took away too, kind of like branching off of that too, was, and he's actually kind of right about this though. When he was talking more about the feud with Drake, like the actual feud, like Drake is the kind of guy that would like to diss you instead of just dissing you on a track. Like, he'll do some creepy shit. Like, he'll move into the house like five houses down from you, and like, and just do stuff like that. So like, I kind of agreed with that. I thought that was kind of funny that he mentioned that, because they did live like five houses down. And
Yeah.
another Drake thing, and there's been rumors that when they were kind of like, when him and Kim weren't together, or maybe I don't think they were together at the point, but they were like talking, and Kanye said in the interview like, oh, like, he'll go and talk to like your boys' girls, and he'll just talk to all these people, and it's like, yeah, that sounds like Drake. That's exactly what he would do.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was kind of funny, and I liked that part a lot. It seemed fitting.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, and Drake is like he's very strategic.
Right.
Drake like doesn't like, he takes shots very strategically, and he never says anyone's name.
Yeah.
He might mention like a song that he helped them with, or he dissing the person by their saying their biggest song, or like using it in wordplay, but
Yep.
Drake you'll never hear him say anyone's name.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Kanye's like, because Kanye doesn't diss anyone on a record, like if he does, he says the person's name. Like,
Right.
he's like, Phil Knight, or not, well, not Phil Knight, the guy from Nike or whatever, like he'll say people's names on shit, and like
Hmm.
he's straight to the point. So like Drake's very strategic with what he says. So yeah.
Yeah.
um yeah, and then the Big Sean thing, I think that's out there. That his biggest mistake was signing Big Sean, and I think I understand what he's saying in terms of them seeing them as friends, but obviously, like, you're not a legit presidential candidate. But I understand what he's saying in terms of him, and I can understand in terms of him feeling like Big Sean and John Legend were being used by the Democrats because they're trying to get the urban vote
Mhm.
or the black vote, or whatever PC terminology they want to use to uh, say for that. But they uh, he feels like they were used by them, and he was like, you're people that are close to me, or that I call, would expect you to stand up for me in a way.
Mhm.
And that's where I agreed in terms of like saying that biggest mistake is kind of ridiculous, but in terms of where he was coming from, I kind of actually understood it, and I didn't think he was totally wrong in terms of you know maybe them not voting for him. But he said Push T didn't vote for him, but he kept it quiet. He wasn't used, you know
Yeah.
like he wasn't out there. So Big Sean and John Legend were used by the Democratic Party to promote the black vote.
Yeah. I mean, when you put it that way, I guess I get it. I had a hard time finding us to side with him on this one because, like, so first of all, Big Sean's not that bad. So when he originally said that, I was like, what's his reasoning? Because he can't possibly be saying like, oh, I signed Big Sean and he's a terrible rapper, because that can't be the case.
You could say
So
designer for that.
yeah, exactly. Um, so like I don't know, like when I heard that, I was like, there's no way that you can possibly feel that way. And if you do, again, you're delusional, because Big Sean is not nearly as bad as some of the other people that you've associated yourself with and whatever. Um, and then he goes into it about the whole presidential thing. And that's what really like grinded my gears, is because you were never, ever, ever, I'm going to put this
Yeah,
out there right now. You were never, ever, ever in consideration for a presidential, whatever, candidate,
yeah,
elect, whatever. Like you were never in the running. So the fact that you are that bitter about it to the point where you basically just killed Big Sean, like you just killed him. Like you're so upset about that. And that's the reason why you don't associate yourself or even like respect Big Sean or John Legend anymore. Like, like that to me, that was just so ridiculous. It has nothing to do with like their artistic, creativeness or anything like that. It's because they didn't vote for him when he was running for president, which he was never going to win, ever.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So like that part just like I was like, wow, that's really low for him. um, and I kind of felt the same way about my man Talib Kweli, because like you guys were so close, and like for a while there, like like Talib Kweli was like he was on College Dropout. I think he was on Late Registration too, if I'm not mistaken. And they were just like they were just like good buddies, and they fit really well together. And then you just kind of go off on him, and I feel like I don't know. Talib Kweli may have said things to Kanye that like didn't sit well with Kanye and whatever, and we'll never know the whole depth of that conversation that they had. But I've always felt like Talib Kweli is like just like for the people, and like just like trying to help people, and like
Yeah.
like I think that's all he was trying to do, is like he's just trying to like help Kanye, because Kanye needs help. Like he really needs the help, and so I feel like he was just trying to like help him out, and Kanye again just like craps on him, and I felt bad because I like Talib Kweli. I think he's a great guy. So I don't know. What were some other takeaways for you? Do you have any more?
Trying to think. Uh, no, there's nothing. I think I'll probably pop up. But is there anything that you?
Oh yeah, I have a lot. Um,
Okay.
but I'll be brief. But like some of the other things I thought. First off, I'm just gonna say the one word: half-cinated. He's half vaccinated, so he's half-cinated. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Thought that was ridiculous. The other part that stuck out to me too was he says that he's homeless, even though he owns 12,000 acres in Wyoming.
Yeah. And
And
he said he went home, like he would go
right,
home.
right. And so I'm hoping, I'm praying that he is using that as more of like a symbol instead of being actually literal. Um, and I'm thinking that's kind of where he's going with that. And I guess I get it to an extent, but I feel like you have to be careful with things like that, because there are people that don't have that. You know what I mean? So like there are people like I don't have 12,000 acres. I would love 12,000 acres. And if I ever had 12,000 acres, I would never consider myself homeless, because there are people out there who literally are homeless and you are comparing yourself to them, but you have all this land, you've, you know, been successful, you made all this money. Like, I think that's just a really, like, I don't know, risky area to be crossing. The last
Hold
two.
on, wait. I
Yeah,
have something
go
to say
ahead.
about that.
Say something. Yeah, please.
He's like, it's choosing to do that. Like he has the ability to do. I would be homeless too. I would be traveling I'd be going to Paris tomorrow, Spain the next day, you know,
Right.
California the day after that. Like, yeah, if I could afford that and take private jets, I would be homeless too. I
Yeah.
would never see my home because I would be out
Right.
doing things
Exactly.
and traveling and meeting with Balenciaga and then Adidas and then meeting with Jay-Z. Like, yeah,
Absolutely.
I if I could afford that, I would be homeless as well.
Yep.
And for that reason of being homeless, not the polar opposite of being homeless.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, again, just another example of him being freaking delusional. Um, One thing that I did find interesting, I'll make two last points.
Yeah.
Just two things that I thought were big standouts to me. Another thing I thought that was really interesting, and he kind of just left it at this, and I don't know if maybe like the guys that were hosting the show kind of like were told to just kind of keep it, you know, simple and kind of what it was. But he's talking about the VMAs in 2009 when he, you know, obviously when he went on the stage and basically like trashed Taylor Swift and said Beyonce should have won and whatever, which he was right with, by the way, but just wasn't handled the best way. But
Yeah.
when he was asked about that, he simply said that that night he was showing both of his addictions and just left it. And that I'm more seriously thinking, like, I want to know a little bit more, and maybe we'll never know like what he actually meant by that. But like, obviously, I mean, clearly he was drunk, so maybe that was one of the addictions that he was talking about. But he said that there was two. There was both addictions. So like, I'm kind of wondering like what he meant by that. So like, that is part of the interview that I would actually like to like find out more about if I could. I don't know if we ever will, but to me,
Yeah.
that was just something interesting and something eye opening. Like, oh man, like, you know, there was definitely something going on there. You know?
Yeah. Maybe it's the spotlight.
Maybe. Yeah, I guess possibly. That's a good point. But I
And
guess
alcohol.
we'll never know. Yeah, and alcohol, and we'll never really know, I guess, because you know it's Kanye, unless he goes on another tangent and just kind of says anything.
There's a part 2 coming
That's
out.
what I was gonna say. There's a part 2, and then I guess the last part that I'll just kind of mention is that he said that he could beat anyone in a versus. You're not beating Lil Wayne. Sorry.
I have to agree with him, but that's just because I'm such a big fan of his. But I agree with him. But
Okay.
I'll let you go.
So I don't think. I mean, okay. I shouldn't say you're not going to beat Lil Wayne. I think maybe you could have a shot, but I would personally think Lil Wayne would take you.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
I think there's two artists who could give him a run for his money, but I think he would win.
Okay.
Jay-Z and Drake. There's only two.
Yeah, and I wrote that down too. I think Jay-Z and Drake. I mean, I think they would beat him as well. I don't think you're beating Eminem. I really don't.
I think those are the really.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna beat Eminem because I feel like with those two, Lil Wayne and Eminem, like, I don't know. So versus people vote on those, right? Like it's like a poll kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like I just feel like in terms of like popularity, like people like Lil Wayne and Eminem. Maybe not Eminem, but like I think people like Lil Wayne a lot more than they like Kanye West, particularly now. Like today, like if they were to do a versus now, like I feel like Lil Wayne will get a popularity vote. You know what I mean? Just because he's not as like this like crazy as Kanye, or like doesn't have like all these like crazy things that he says that other people are like, Kanye, you're an idiot. Like, you know, like, so I just feel like in that regard, like people will pick Lil Wayne over Kanye just because of that factor, you know? I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to say about that?
So I think he would win any verses, but I think he would win any, like, if you're just doing a traditional verses, yes, I think he would win anyone. He said he can go like style for style with everyone. And because why I think he's the GOAT is because I think he can do a lot of different things very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you're going like conscious, like you're not going to be Kendrick. If you're going pop, like strictly pop, you're not going to be Drake. If you're going, you know, different certain styles, like because he's so versatile, but he doesn't have enough of that to go against anyone. He can, I think, go, you know, 20 songs or whatever it is with someone. I think he'll beat anyone, but I think if it's specific styles or even just producing, like
Hmm.
you're not going to beat, even
Right.
producing. I don't think he would win producing, but I think, he's even said that, where I'm just like, I disagree on that end, but I think he traditionally, like a traditional versus, I think he would win.
Okay. Yeah, and I said Kendrick too. Like I don't think that he would be able to beat Kendrick. And I also, me, I'm biased. I don't think he's gonna beat the greatest rapper of all time, which is Nas. Like I don't think he would. I don't think he'd beat that.
Yeah.
If you go for hits, then obviously yeah, because Kanye definitely has more like hits than Nas does. Where Nas is like kind of like what you said with Kendrick, like a very like conscious rapper. So they don't have the catalog of hits to kind of compete when you're going toe to toe with like a person who's had major success on like the radio and stuff like that. But when I think of just like verses and like like rapping and going toe to toe with like your best songs versus his best songs, like I don't think he would beat Nas either. So I think that those people, like, to me, like I don't think he would beat them, honestly. And so when he said that, I was just like, let me think of some people that I think could probably beat you, because there's definitely at least like 5 or 10. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Those were kind of things that stuck out to me. And man, that whole interview was just a trip. It was really just a trip. Whoa, it was a lot.
Yeah, it was. Definitely. So we could keep going on and on about that, but we will not. So now it's time for the album review. I am reviewing Circles by Mac Miller, and did not change my view on Mac Miller. So this album, I think specifically, I feel like one long song to me. I think the sound of the sound, it's a very similar sound, and it's, I understand. I like the subject matter. I like what he's saying, but one, I still cannot stand his voice. It feels like he has a lip in all the time. And then two is that it, like the sound, like I wasn't a big fan of the production. I think if it was like some of the songs were like that, I think, I just felt like everything, it was all one very specific sound, the whole album. And um I did like my standouts to me were Complicated, That's on Me, and what was the other one? Good News. um so those are the standouts to me, but it honestly was not one of my favorite albums. I'm gonna be honest. I think if it was maybe a different album of his, I might give it another, like I might have liked it more, but just to me it felt like I said, one long song. And I guess, it's after he died, so and he was creating it, around that time, and it was like a sequel, I think, to the Swimming, or it was supposed to be like a second something alongside with that. So
Yeah.
uh yeah, just, it was, to me, it was just very one sound.
Hmm.
That's my
All right.
review on that.
All right. Wow. Okay. You didn't like Blue World? I like that song a lot. Blue World. That's the one where he's like, I think it's the one where it's like, this a mad world made me crazy. Might just turn around and do 180. I ain't politicking. I ain't kissing no babies. You didn't like that song?
Yeah, it's all right. I just, I think like that, like on that song, is like, it's just his voice. I just can't.
Yeah.
It annoys the fuck out of me. Honestly, it's probably like how you feel about Young Thug. Like I just, yeah. So I don't know. I feel like he was like, the subject matter was good. It was just the
Yeah.
sound of it. It was just,
Yeah. And I think that's probably maybe what did it for me too. Like, like I told you kind of before when I gave it to you, like, for me, like I never knew that Mac Miller could kind of like lyrically write a song, like write songs like that are like
yeah,
just like so deep, and like where you think about it, it's like, oh, like wow, that's that's a pretty deep subject matter, or wow, that was a pretty good, like, focused idea that you had there. I never knew Mac Miller could do that. And so I feel like that album kind of like opened my horizons a little bit on him in terms of like how he writes a song. And I could totally understand that, he doesn't have the best voice, or, sometimes his production, or just like, his performance in a song could be kind of like, just like, oh my God, when is this going to end? Like, it's just like, so like just dragging out. and so I can see that because I kind of felt like that about him throughout most of his whole career. But I don't know, to me there was just something that hit me about this one, and maybe it was the fact that it came out after he had passed away, and that kind of added a little bit more, like, I don't know, sympathy to it for me, I guess. But
Maybe a little more depth.
yeah, and it maybe it forced me to kind of pay attention to what the subject matters in each song were going to be about, because I don't think if he had released this album while he was still alive, I don't think I would pay attention to it as much, you know.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, it's sad to say that I think his passing actually kind of helped me in terms of my interest with it a little bit. But yeah, I'm sorry you didn't like it. But for me, it's just one of those ones where, like, I come back to it every now and then. I'm just like, damn, like this is some deep stuff here. So
Yeah, I totally get, like, the lyrics are good. I think, like, the lyric from the paper to the record is where
yeah.
he loses me.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so yeah, but it's definitely not a bad album. And I think, like I said, the subject matter I think is good, and like you said, deep. Just his sound, I just can't get it. I personally am not a big a fan of that big a
Yeah.
fan of. All right, so now it's time for me to give you an album, and
All right.
it's a very new album this
Okay.
year. It's a favorite of mine this year, and I don't think you've listened to it. Is Melodic Blue by Baby Keem.
I have not.
You'll get some nice surprises on there. There's 3 Kendrick features.
Oh.
Yeah, 2 verses and 1 chorus. A Travis Scott feature and a Don Toliver feature, and that's it.
Wow.
But I just think I'm going to say this before you go into it, and to maybe help your listening experience.
Okay.
He's very versatile. Let me just say that.
Okay. All
So
right. All right. Well, I
interpret
like
that,
versatility.
interpret it how you may.
Okay.
He's
Okay.
versatile.
Oh man, now I'm scared.
No, but yeah. So Kyle's album review for next week is The Melodic Blue by Baby Keem.
All right.
So now the end of show. As always, subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on any streaming services that the podcast is available on or you listen to. If it's not available on what you listen to, let us know. Follow us on Twitter at We Debate Hip Hop, on Instagram at The Hip Hop Debate, the YouTube channel as well as The Hip Hop Debate. And let us know what you want to hear, what your answers are, what you think about our topics. If you have any suggestions, we're definitely open. So just keep on subscribing, listening, watching. And thank you, everyone. Deuces.
Bye, everybody.